Alright, most of you know that this is the setup that we use to get fertilizer to the planter. We put our pop-up fertilizer in that front tank, and then we put the product that we use for the 2x2 and the larger tank. That's a 3,000 gallon tank, and that one there is like 750, I believe. Well, a couple weeks ago we cleaned the fertilizer out of the tanks, and we ended up putting water in them so that we could moisten the hay to clean up the gummy material that accumulates in the chopper. Well, yesterday we had to put out a chopper fire with that here yesterday afternoon, and we'll show you what kind of damages that we have on the chopper. So that was that saved the machine. So we'll run inside this little barn here, and we'll show you what happened to the chopper here yesterday. Very minor, but it could have turned into a catastrophic event had we not had that truck in the field here. So once we get inside, I'll show you what we had happen here. So I ended up pulling the chopper in this little Morton barn here last night. It started to sprinkle, and the chopper was all wet, so I didn't end up blowing it off last night. I have yet to do that here today. Plus, I need to fix a few wires on it. We were chopping some premium alfalfa here yesterday afternoon, and I could smell a little smoke, nothing big. You get that once in a while. You get a little stone or something that gets bounced out of the cutter head here. It gets down into this dry chaff, this dry dusty stuff accumulates. It doesn't matter what moisture feed you're chopping, you end up getting this dry material. So the first place you always look is inside this area here where the sharpening stone is, because the dust accumulates up in there. Even though we're blowing it off here quite frequently, the dust accumulates in there, and it just creates a spot for little fires. Nothing big. So we ended up just pouring some water down in top there. I took my water bottle and poured it, and we went back chopping again. Smoke went away. A few minutes later, we see some smoke again, just little tiny bits of smoke coming off this right side. So we ended up popping the head off, and we're feeling around on it, not really seeing anything. And we noticed down in here it was smoldering right in on this attachment plate. So we poked it all down, and there was some pretty good stuff burning here. You can see it's kind of got the paint burned off there. Again, no big deal. Bolted everything back up, put the head on, went back at it. Actually, we didn't have this door open here yet. So it went another half hour, 45 minutes. We could see little bits of smoke again. Again, the truck drivers can smell it. I couldn't smell anything up in the cab. So we took the head off, decided to open up the front case here, and we seen that it was smoking down on this right hand side here. So I ended up taking the fire extinguisher. It's a water cannon type extinguisher. It's mounted right up on the side there. I actually have to put it back on the chopper. That's right there. That is an extinguisher that has water in it. You charge it with air pressure, and you could shoot a pretty good stream. It works really well. So we used that. We sprayed the this area down here, and as you can see, I've got a couple of grease lines here that are melted right through. And down in there is the wire harness. You can almost see it. The fire, it was burning down in here. I sprayed this whole area. I got the smoldering stuff out. And this piece right here is a tube. And the wires and the grease line goes down through it. And I sprayed this way and that way. And I started to worry about, where else on this chopper is there a tube that wires or something run through that we might have a potential of there being smoldering material. So my nephew called Jared. He brought the water truck down, and I got it out. You know, I said, it's out. We sprayed the whole thing down with the water can in there and went through all the water we had. We figured we were good. Almost turned Jared around, but I said, you know what? Let's just continue on with the truck here, and in the event that the hay gets too dry, we can, you know, we'll have the truck there for that. Went back chopping. Going along, and we could see smoke, little bits of smoke, coming out of the chute that the hay comes out of, the yellow chute up on top of the chopper. I'm thinking, well, it's just, you could see little bits of smoke coming out when there was no hay going through, and I figured out it was just, you know, the dust that's accumulated here. It's just the dust going through. So we got looking at things, we stopped, we shut down, and just before I shut down, I got an alert, which I'll show you a picture of what we had on the screen. The chopper stops, and I had a ProDrive code come up on the armrest display, which you'll see right here, and it wouldn't let me move. So I shut the chopper off, started it back up, and it went again. I had just a little bit of a windrow left to chop, and we were going to move out of the farm that we were on and come up into this area that we are at right now. And then I got that ProDrive code again. So I said, well, we better look things over here. So I ended up going up into the area here. I've got the panels all off. Ended up going up into the back of the chopper here. And this is where the kernel processor sets in. And I took this plastic panel off of there, which that's that larger panel that's laying on the floor. And these panels are the floorboard panels here. And there was a bunch of dry hay in there, and it was all smoldering. It was about this much dry hay, and every bit of it was burning. Or not flames, but it was all black and smoldering. So Jared pulls in. We ended up hosing this whole area down, and it's still smoking. We come in up underneath these panels, hose that area down, because I knew there was a bunch of hydraulic hoses and wires that, you know, we could be, you know, dust and whatever could be burning. So we hosed it from underneath. Then I jumped back in the chopper. I wanted to get the head off of it, and the chopper wouldn't move. So I ended up getting these panels here off, and what it had ended up doing was it burned off the wire harness right there. You can kind of see the colored wires. It burned all the loom off of that, and it burned some wires, and it had them shorted together, and it just was tripping codes, and it wouldn't allow the chopper to move. Now, that where it was burning is in close proximity to the fuel tank. I'm standing on the fuel tank right now, and that is plastic, so we're about 1 foot to 18 inches away from the fuel tank. Now, had that chaff got into this wire here, it would have probably been enough to burn a hole through that fuel tank, and maybe the chopper would have ended up in smoke. Now, it's a very minor event that could have turned catastrophic here in a hurry. You know, there's not a lot of burnable material on here, but once it gets into a hydraulic hose or a fuel line or something like that, you have a great accelerant to send the whole unit up in smoke here. So I got to blow this off now. I've got fuel in it, and then we're going to get going here in a little while. A little bit later of a start today than a normal day, just because we got a little over 1/10 of an inch of rain here last night. And I was filling trucks up towards last thing, and it was sprinkling pretty good. And I got into some pretty good alfalfa that had some moisture to it. And you can see that the knives are real clean here. It took a lot of that gummy material off of the knife, the bolts and the backing plate here. If you recall in that last video or a couple of videos ago here, I had to wire wheel all these plates off here that hold the knife on, and then if you see the amount of crap that is on the drum itself. Now, when this chopper gets built up with material, it's got material like this that's, you know, a couple layers thick that it tries to blow the feed by, and that's where you run into the trouble with blowing issues. So we better get at it here, and then we'll fix some wires, tie them up. All I did is just put some quick tape over them, and it allowed us to get back going again. We lost maybe an hour and a half. I sent some pictures to Jake, and I thought that one sensor was causing the whole problem. And before I got dug down into it any further, he texted me back and he says that that switch there, that sensor is not going to cause you to not be able to move. You got more problems. And then as he was texting me back, I was figuring out that we had wires get melted. So we were lucky that it didn't burn them wires all the way through to the point where we wouldn't be able to tell what wire went where. It burned 6 of the wires. So we'll get after it here, and then we'll get on with the rest of the day. All right, we're getting this ready to button back up. I ended up taping up these wires here. You just barely see that there. And then, of course, we have to address the situation with these grease lines. There's 2 of them there that are melted off, and they run across the bottom here. There's one there that goes to the smooth roll, and then there's one that goes to the bottom feed roll there. So what I did is I took the grease lines out and I just put a grease zerk in there, and we'll just have to put a couple of pumps of grease in there every couple of hours or so, kind of mimic what the auto greaser does to those bearings. And once we get a mender kit, we'll put these grease lines back together. I did not have any unions with me to put that line back together. So we'll close this up, put the head on, sharpen the knives, and then we're going to be able to get started here. So we've got some new seeding that we're going to do today. So that's going to kiss these knives pretty good. We're probably going to run this down a little ways here, run the hardness off, because we're going to be into some stones and we're going to have to sharpen them quite a bit here come tomorrow morning to get them back into what they're looking like now. So that is what it is. So we'll join back up with you in a few minutes here once we get things buttoned together and once we get chopping here. All right, we are into the following day and we're repairing our grease lines here. They ended up burning off over in here on this right hand side, right down in there. They burnt right through. Got into the wire loom here on this wire here, but we were able to tape that up. There was a couple of unions here already, so we hooked in new grease line, ran that across and over to this other side here. And all I had left to do is just put this spiral stuff on there so that kind of protects it. And then there's a little bracket underneath there that we'll zip tie it to on the front side of this pipe here. So we've got about a day and a half worth of chopping left. We've got heifer hay to clean up, and then we're going to be done chopping, first cutting. So we'll get this buttoned up, and this is going to do it for this video. So I want to thank you for watching, and we will catch you at the next one.